My name is Ailser and 26 years old. 12 years ago, my life shattered in a single night. It started with what seemed like such a simple statement. My husband looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I'm staying at the casino hotel tonight by myself." His tone was casual, almost careless, as though it was no big deal. But something inside me immediately tensed. I can't explain it, but I've learned to trust my instincts, especially when they whisper that something isn't right. At first, I tried to push the feeling aside. After all, this was my husband, the man I had built a family with, the man who had sworn he loved me. Why would he lie about something so basic? I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was overthinking. But as the hours passed, unease started crawling up my skin. His words replayed in my head, and no matter how many times I tried to reason with myself, I couldn't shake the feeling. Something about the way he sat alone didn't sound genuine. It was almost too quick, too rehearsed, as if he knew I would question it and had already prepared an answer. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled out my phone and checked his location. My heart began racing. It didn't add up. The pin showed movement that didn't match his story. My chest tightened with every second I stared at that little dot on the map. That was the moment I knew I had to dig deeper. I couldn't just sit back and ignore the sinking feeling in my gut. I needed proof. I needed the truth, no matter how much it might hurt me. Later, when I saw he had stopped at a gas station, I made a decision that would change everything. With trembling hands and a heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears, I drove there myself. I walked inside, barely able to keep my voice steady, and asked the manager if I could see the surveillance footage from the time my husband had been there. It felt like a movie, except it wasn't. It was my life, and deep down, I already knew what I was about to see. The night dragged on, and the unease inside me only grew stronger. I kept glancing at my phone, hoping his location would give me some peace of mind. Instead, it only made things worse. The little dot on the map didn't match the story he had told me. He said he was staying at the casino hotel, but the path on my screen told a different story. He wasn't where he claimed he'd be. Every second I stared at that screen, my stomach knotted tighter, my hands were clammy, my pulse raced, and deep down, I already knew something wasn't right. I sat there, torn between wanting to ignore it and wanting to uncover the truth. Part of me begged, "Don't dig, don't look, you might regret it." But another voice, louder, sharper, insisted, "You deserve to know. Don't let him gaslight you into thinking everything is fine." Finally, I gave in to that louder voice. I grabbed my keys, slid into the car, and drove to the gas station I saw on the map. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My thoughts raced as fast as my car. What if I'm wrong? What if he really is alone? What if I'm about to uncover something I'll never be able to forget? When I arrived, the gas station looked so ordinary, bright fluorescent lights buzzing, a few cars at the pumps, and the faint smell of gasoline in the air. But for me, it felt like the stage for a moment that could change my entire marriage. I walked inside, my legs heavy but determined. The clerk looked up, and I swallowed hard before speaking. I said, my voice trembling, "My husband stopped here earlier. Can I see the surveillance footage from that time?" It felt like such an outrageous request, but desperation gives you courage you didn't know you had. The manager was skeptical at first, but after I explained the situation, he reluctantly agreed. As he pulled out the footage, my body went cold. I knew, deep down, that I was about to confirm my worst fears. The truth was seconds away, and there was no turning back. The manager clicked a few buttons, the screen flickered, and then the footage appeared. It was grainy, black and white, with harsh shadows from the gas station lights. My stomach twisted as I leaned closer. My eyes locked on the familiar shape of my husband's car pulling up to the pump. At first, I prayed I'd see him alone, just like he had told me. I wanted to believe his words, even if my instincts screamed otherwise. But then, the passenger door opened, And there she was. My heart stopped. Sitting in the front seat, clear as day despite the fuzzy resolution, was a woman, not just any woman, his colleague. The very same one he had always brushed off as just a friend. It felt like my chest caved in. The air left my lungs. My worst fear wasn't just a suspicion anymore, it was staring me in the face on that flickering screen. I gripped the counter for balance, my hands trembling, my throat tight with a mix of rage and heartbreak. In that moment, every excuse he had ever given me, every quick dismissal, every reassurance came crashing down like a house of cards. He hadn't been honest. He hadn't been faithful. He had looked me in the eye and lied. The manager glanced at me awkwardly, unsure of what to say. But I barely heard him. My mind was spinning. 1,000 thoughts raced at once. How long had this been going on? How much had he hidden? Was this the first time? Or just the first time I caught him? It didn't matter anymore. I had the truth. And the truth cut deeper than any blade ever could. As I stumbled out of the gas station, the cool night air hit my face. But it didn't calm me. My heart felt shattered into pieces to small together. The man I thought I knew, the man I trusted with my life, wasn't who I believed him to be. I sat in my car, numb, staring at the steering wheel, and whispered to myself, he lied. He really lied. And with those words, I knew everything in my marriage had just changed. When I finally confronted him with the truth, there was no point in denying it anymore. He admitted what I already knew, that it had started as an emotional connection with his colleague. They texted, they laughed, they shared things he should have been sharing with me. And then, that night at the casino, it crossed a line. Hearing him say it out loud was like twisting a knife into an open wound. My husband, the man I trusted most, had given parts of himself to someone else. The humiliation burned almost as much as the heartbreak. I felt broken, betrayed, and small. But here's the complicated part. We had a child together, a little one who still looked at both of us with innocent eyes. Believing that mommy and daddy's love was unshakable, the thought of tearing that world apart for our child felt unbearable. So when he begged me to stay, when he cried in my arms and swore over and over again that he would never hurt me like that again, I didn't walk away. I agreed to counseling. I told myself that love was worth fighting for, that families could heal, that maybe, just maybe, this could be the storm that made us stronger. Counseling wasn't easy. We dragged every wound, every unspoken resentment into the open. He made promises, showed up to sessions, and for a while, it felt like he was really trying. I wanted so badly to believe him. I wanted to believe that people could change, that he could change. And for 2 years, that's what I did. I told myself, we're moving forward, we're healing outwardly. I played the part of the forgiving wife, the woman willing to rebuild her marriage brick by brick. Friends and family praised me for my strength, for giving him a second chance. But inside, a different story was unfolding. Deep down, I never stopped being afraid. Every time he came home late, my stomach twisted. Every time he looked at his phone a little too long, my chest tightened. Trust is fragile once it's broken. Even the strongest glue can't make it whole again. And though I kept telling myself we were okay, the cracks beneath the surface never really went away. Fast forward to now. I'm 34 weeks pregnant with our second child. People often talk about pregnancy as this magical, glowing time, filled with excitement and joy. And yes, there are moments when I feel the tiny kicks and I'm overwhelmed with love. But if I'm honest, this pregnancy has been one of the hardest experiences of my life. From the very beginning, I've been drained. The exhaustion is constant, like carrying a weight I can never put down. I was diagnosed with anemia, which only makes the fatigue worse. No matter how much I rest, I wake up feeling like I've run a marathon. Simple tasks like climbing the stairs, cooking dinner, or even standing too long leave me breathless and shaky. And on top of all that, I'm still caring for our 4-year-old, a toddler who doesn't understand that mommy is struggling. A little one who still wants to run, play, and have my full attention most days. It feels like I'm being pulled into directions, my body screaming for rest, and my child needing me to keep going. I'm doing school runs, bedtime routines, laundry, and all the little tasks that make a household run while growing a whole new life inside me. Some days, I feel like I can barely stand. There are mornings when I look in the mirror and don't even recognize the woman staring back. My body feels foreign to me, tired, stretched, and worn down. The excitement of bringing a new baby into the world sometimes gets buried under layers of exhaustion and insecurity. But I keep pushing through, because that's what mothers do. I remind myself that my family needs me, that my children deserve my strength. Even on days when I feel like I have none left to give, I put on a smile. Even when my body aches, I cook meals. Even when I want to collapse, I rock my child to sleep. Even when I feel like I might break, this pregnancy should feel like a celebration, a time of joy. Instead, it has often felt like a battle, and while I fought through every moment, what I didn't realize was that another storm, one even bigger than exhaustion, was waiting for me just round the corner. When it was finally time for my baby shower, I felt a mix of excitement and relief. This pregnancy had been so hard on me physically and emotionally, and I told myself this trip back to my home state would be a turning point. For once, I wanted to set aside all the pain, all the exhaustion, and just focus on celebrating the new life growing inside me. I pictured the gathering in my mind, the decorations, the laughter of friends and family, the sweet moment of opening tiny baby clothes and blankets. I wanted to soak in the joy and let it heal some of the hurt I'd been carrying. I told myself, this is going to be different. This is going to be a happy memory. More than anything, I wanted to feel normal again. For 2 years, ever since my husband's betrayal, normal had felt out of reach. Every conversation, every glance at his phone, every unexplained moment carried a shadow of suspicion. But during this trip, I wanted to leave those shadows behind. I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, we had finally moved past it. I convinced myself that this baby shower could symbolize a fresh start, surrounded by my family, the people who had known me since childhood. I longed for the comfort of safety and love. I wanted my husband by my side, smiling, supportive, proving to everyone and to me that he was the man I had chosen to build a life with. As we traveled, I held on tightly to that hope. Every bump in the road, every ache in my body, every reminder of my fatigue felt lighter when I thought about the joy waiting for me. I told myself, this is our moment. This is the celebration we need as a family. Deep down, I think I was also trying to silence my fears. If I could just believe in the happiness of this trip, maybe the doubts would fade. Maybe the cracks in our relationship would finally seal. I wanted so badly to be surrounded by love, not suspicion. But little did I know, the very thing I feared, the lies, the secrets, would find me again. Even in the middle of what should have been one of the happiest days of my life, the night before my baby shower, the house was buzzing with last-minute details. My mom was setting up decorations, my sister was baking, and I was double-checking everything for the next day. It was supposed to be a night filled with anticipation for something joyful. I noticed my husband sitting quietly, scrolling on his phone. He looked tired, maybe even a little restless. For a moment, I felt a wave of sympathy. This pregnancy had been hard on me, but it hadn't been easy on him either. He had been taking on more responsibilities, helping with our child, and trying, at least it seemed, to be a more present partner. That's when the idea crossed my mind. My best friend's boyfriend had mentioned going out for a few drinks that night, and without hesitation, I encouraged my husband to join him. Go, I told him with a smile. Have fun. You deserve a little break before tomorrow. It felt like a gift I was giving both of us, him, a chance to unwind, and me, a chance to show him that I trusted him again. After everything we'd been through, trust was the hardest thing to give. But I wanted to believe in us. I wanted to believe he had changed. In my head, I reasoned with myself. He's been better. He's been showing up more, helping more. He's proving himself. Maybe I was naive, but part of me thought that rewarding that effort with freedom was a step forward. I told myself, this is what rebuilding trust looks like. You have to let go of the past if you want a future. As he got ready to leave, I felt a flicker of pride. It was as though I was finally taking down one of the walls I had built since his betrayal 2 years ago. I hugged him, wished him a good time, and silently prayed that this decision would prove me right, that he really had become the man he promised me he would be. I wanted so badly to believe in him again, to believe in us again. But sometimes, when you give someone freedom, you also give them another chance to break your heart. When he walked through the door later that night, everything about him seemed normal. He was relaxed, smiling, even a little playful. He told me he and my best friend's boyfriend had gone to a sports bar and then a brewery. He described the food, the music hut, and how good it felt to get out of the house for a while, for the first time in a long time. I let myself believe him. I didn't question it. I didn't dig for inconsistencies or look for cracks in his story. Instead, I allowed myself to breathe. I wanted so desperately to trust again, to put the past behind us. And in that moment, he gave me just enough to believe that maybe we were okay. I remember sitting on the couch, watching him laugh as he told a story about their night. It felt almost like the old days, the version of us before the betrayal, before the lies. My heart softened. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe we've finally turned the corner. It was such a comforting thought. I was about to walk into a baby shower surrounded by my closest friends and family. I wanted to feel proud of the life we had built together. I wanted people to look at us and see a couple who had survived the storm and come out stronger. For once, I wanted to believe that the worst was behind us. As I went to bed that night, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. I touched my belly, felt the little kicks, and smiled. I whispered to my baby, "We're okay. Mommy and Daddy are okay." But what I didn't know then, what I couldn't see, was that this peace was only temporary. The universe has a cruel way of revealing the truth. Sometimes it gives you a taste of calm before ripping the ground out from under you. Because soon, I would discover that he hadn't changed at all. The lies hadn't stopped. And the fragile hope I was holding onto was about to shatter into pieces all over again. Later that night, when the house was quiet and my body begged for rest, I found myself scrolling through my phone. It was supposed to be mindless, just checking the usual notifications. A way to distract myself from the ache in my back and the endless thoughts running through my head. But then, in the middle of that ordinary routine, something caught my eye. A notification from Venmo. At first, I thought nothing of it. But as I looked closer, confusion crept in. The payment was linked to a card number I didn't recognize. My heart skipped. I knew the cards we used, every single one of them. Between bills, groceries, and planning for a new baby, I handled most of our finances. So how could there be a card I'd never seen? I clicked. My fingers trembled as the transactions loaded, and there was several charges from that exact night. The night he swore he was at the sports bar with my best friend's boyfriend. The dates and times lined up to perfectly, to cleanly. My stomach twisted into knots as a wave of dread hit me so hard it was almost physical. I froze, staring at the screen, my mind spinning in circles. Could it be nothing? A mistake? But no, deep down, I knew better. That old familiar feeling I had worked so hard to bury for 2 years came roaring back like a ghost I never wanted to see again. The memories of the first betrayal slammed into me all at once. The lies, the tears, the hollow promises. I remembered the surveillance video, the colleague in his car, the way my heart had splintered that night. And now, here I was again, staring at proof that something was off. I wanted to deny it, to shove the phone away and pretend I hadn't seen anything. But my body betrayed me. My chest tightened, my breath grew shallow, and the baby inside me kicked as if responding to my panic. I whispered into the dark, please, not again. But the truth doesn't stay hidden forever, and I already knew I was standing on the edge of another lie unraveling. I couldn't hold it in. The moment I saw those Venmo transactions, I felt the same storm rising inside me that I had felt years ago, the shaking hands, the rapid heartbeat, the icy weight pressing down on my chest. I walked straight to him, phone clutched tightly in my palm, my whole body trembling. "Where did you really go?" I asked, my voice quivering but sharp, slicing through the air. He looked up at me, calm to calm. His eyes didn't flinch. His posture didn't shift. In the same measured tone, he repeated the story he told me before. "We went to the sports bar. Then we stopped by a brewery. That's it." His voice was steady, rehearsed, like he had practiced it in his head before walking through the door. But I had lived through this before. I knew his patterns better than he realized. I recognized the way his eyes held mine deliberately, as though he was forcing himself not to look away. I recognized the way he added little details, casual flourishes, like someone painting over cracks in the wall. And most of all, I recognized the rhythm. The same rhythm of lies he had used years ago. Back then, I wanted so badly to believe him. I wanted to believe the promises, the tears, the apologies. But standing in front of him now, with my body carrying our second child, I felt that same gut-deep scream that something was wrong. That scream doesn't fade. It only hides. Waiting for moments like this to resurface, I pressed him harder. Then, "Why?" I asked, my hand shaking as I held up my phone. "Are there Venmo transactions from a card I didn't even know you had? Why do the times match up with when you said you were drinking beer?" For a moment, just the briefest flicker, I saw it, the crack in his mask. His jaw tightened. His eyes darted away just long enough to confirm what I already knew. He was lying. And worse, he was lying with the same steadiness, the same confidence. As if he believed he could still convince me that up was down and night was stayed up. My gut didn't just scream now, it roared. He was hiding something much bigger. It happened in the last place I ever expected, at my baby shower. A day that was supposed to be filled with joy, laughter, and love turned into the backdrop for my second heartbreak. The room was decorated with pastel balloons, soft streamers, and little signs that read, "Welcome, baby." My family had flown in, friends had gathered, and everyone was smiling, clinking glasses, and showering me with gifts. On the outside, it was perfect. But inside, I was still reeling from the uneasy feeling that last night's story didn't add up. I tried to bury it under the smiles, under the congratulations, under the weight of my growing belly. And then it happened. I was walking past the kitchen when I heard it, just a casual remark, tossed out between my best friend's boyfriend and another guest. "Man, that strip club was wild last night." Strip club. 2 words. That was all it took for my world to tilt on its axis. My heart stopped. My breath caught in my throat. The chatter of the room, the laughter of children running round, the clicking of cameras, all of it blurred into nothing. I stood frozen, gripping my belly as if to steady myself, because the floor beneath me felt like it had crumbled away. He had told me sports bar. He had told me brewery. He had looked me in the eyes and spoken with calm certainty, weaving his story so tightly that I almost let myself believe it. Almost. But here it was, confirmed in the most careless and guarded way possible, the truth spilling out where it wasn't meant to, cutting through the lies with brutal precision. I felt hot tears sting my eyes, but I blinked them back. Not here, not in front of everyone. I forced myself to smile when people walked by, to nod when they handed me presents, to act like the happy, expectant mother everyone wanted to see. But inside, I was crumbling, because once again, he had lied. Once again, he had looked me straight in the face and chosen to see over honesty. And this time, it wasn't just my heart breaking, it was the trust of a family we were supposed to be building together. When I confronted him again, I braced myself for the denials. At first, he tried to hold onto his version of events, but when I pressed harder, his mask cracked. With a sigh, he admitted, yes, we went to a strip club. My chest tightened. But I wasn't satisfied. I asked the question that burned in my gut. Did you pay for anything? His eyes met mine, steady and unflinching, as he swore, no, nothing happened. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to cling to that thin thread of hope, to convince myself that while he had lied about where he went, maybe it hadn't gone. Further, I told myself I could live with a half-truth if it meant protecting what little peace I had left. But the truth has a cruel way of clawing its way out. Days later, the dam broke again. With a nervous laugh and a shrug, he muttered, well, I did pay for a lap dance, but it was just chatting. Just chatting. Those two words echo in my head like a cruel joke. Did he really expect me to believe that in a place designed for seduction, for temptation, it was only talking? In that moment, it was like the first betrayal was playing on repeat. The same twisting in my stomach, the same hollow ache in my chest, the same realization that the man I trusted to be my partner, my protector, was still capable of looking me straight in the eye and lying. Only this time, the wound cut deeper, because I had given him another chance. I had fought to rebuild us, and all along, the foundation was cracking beneath my feet. These weeks should be filled with joy. I should be folding tiny onesies, hanging up pastel decorations in the nursery, and letting myself dream about the moment I'll finally hold my baby. Every little kick, every flutter, should be a reminder of the life I'm bringing into the world. But instead of joy, all I feel is the crushing weight of anger, humiliation, and grief. The happiness that should define this chapter of my life has been stolen from me. Overshadowed by betrayal, pregnancy is already such a vulnerable season. My body doesn't feel like mine anymore. It's stretching, aching, changing in ways that are both beautiful and terrifying. Some days, I look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. The circles under my eyes, the swollen ankles, the constant fatigue, it's a daily reminder that I am giving everything I have to grow and protect this child. On top of that, I'm still caring for our 4-year-old, pouring every ounce of energy into being a good mother, even when I feel like I have nothing left to give. What I've needed most during this time is simple reassurance, tenderness, and consistency. I've craved the kind of love that wraps around you like a blanket, the kind that steadies you when everything feels uncertain. Instead, what I've been handed is deception. While I've been sacrificing sleep, comfort, and my own sense of identity for our family, he has been chasing selfish thrills somewhere else. And that is what cuts the deepest. It isn't only what he did, it's what it says about me, about us. It makes me feel invisible, like all my sacrifices are unnoticed, like I am unwanted and unworthy of the loyalty he promised me. No matter how much I give, it feels like it will never be enough. That realization doesn't just sting, it shatters something inside me. Because while I'm carrying our child, he has chosen to carry lies. And the weight of that betrayal is heavier than anything my body endures. Even before this betrayal, I wrestled with insecurities that seemed to cling tighter with each passing week of pregnancy. Every pregnancy leaves its mark on a woman's body, stretch marks, swelling, bloating, and the roller coaster of hormonal changes that distort not only how you look, but how you feel about yourself. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he still saw me as beautiful. Did he still want me? Or had I become invisible, just the mother of his children? A role rather than a person? These questions gnawed at me quietly. But I tried to silence them with hope. I told myself that love was stronger than surface changes, that our bond would outweigh the physical toll pregnancy takes. I wanted to believe that he still looked at me and saw the same woman he once promised forever. And now, those lingering doubts have been confirmed in the most devastating way. He didn't go out seeking just a distraction, or harmless company, or even a simple break from the stress of fatherhood. No, he sought out a fantasy, other women, other bodies, other attention. What he craved wasn't connection, it was escape. And the cruelest part of it all is what that choice says about me, about us, about the vows we built our lives on. When I was at my most vulnerable growing our child, aching with exhaustion, desperately needing his loyalty and comfort, he turned away. He chose something temporary, shallow, and cheap over the sacred commitment we built together. Now I feel invisible in my own marriage. Not just overlooked, but erased. I feel unwanted and desired. As though no matter how much I give, it will never measure up to the illusions he chased. Every time he says, "I love you," the words scrape against me like poison. Because how can love and lies occupy the same space? How can I trust a man who has shown me that when I need him most, he seeks solace in the arms of strangers? This isn't just insecurity anymore. This is devastation, layer on top of wounds that may never fully heal. What makes this betrayal cut the deepest is not just the act itself, it's the pattern. The first time, he called it just emotional cheating, as though the absence of physical touch made it less damaging, less real. The second time, he swore it was just one night, an isolated slip, a mistake that would never be repeated. And now, here we are again, with another this time, just a lap dance. Always minimized, always framed in a way to make me feel like I'm overreacting, like the pain I carry is disproportionate to what actually happened. But the common thread weaving all of these betrayals together isn't just the behavior, it's the lying, the way he looks me in the eye with steady calmness and feeds me words that sound like truth, but are hollow at the core. That is the betrayal that lingers longest. Because when someone who has pledged their life to you can lie so convincingly, it makes you question everything. What else don't I know? How many other justs have been buried, covered, hidden behind excuses, and each time, I've been asked to believe it's the last time, to believe in apologies, in promises of change, in carefully crafted words that are supposed to rebuild trust. But how many mistakes does it take before it stops being a mistake? At what point does it become a choice or deliberate decision to value temporary thrills over the family and future we've built together? The part of me that once held hope is withering. The part that wanted to believe in redemption, that wanted to cling to the good, is slipping away with each repeated betrayal. Because no matter how pretty the words sound, the actions tell the real story. And that story is one of disrespect, disregard, and a love that feels less like love every single day, right now. I can't stand the thought of him near me. The very presence that should feel like comfort feels suffocating. His hugs feel like cages. His apologies like empty echoes bouncing round inside my chest. I recall from his touch. Not because I don't crave closeness, but because the closeness we once shared has been poisoned. Every "I'm sorry" sounds like a script I've heard too many times before, rehearsed, recycled, hollow. What hurts most is how this has bled into one of the most sacred seasons of my life. I should be envisioning joy, preparing for the arrival of our baby, building memories I can hold onto forever. Instead, the image of him standing beside me in the delivery room fills me with dread. Labor is raw, vulnerable, sacred, and the idea of having him there, watching me at my most exposed, makes my skin crawl. How can the man who is supposed to be my safe place also be the one who has inflicted the deepest wounds? He says he's sorry, but he said that the last time, he cried then, too. He begged for forgiveness, made promises of change, and for a while, I believed him. I wanted to believe him, yet here we are again. The cycle looping back, and with every repetition, a piece of me crumbles. I used to imagine that moment of birth so differently. I pictured him holding my hand, whispering encouragement through the pain, grounding me in love, reminding me I wasn't alone. Now, when I let myself picture it, all I feel is isolation. His presence no longer feels like support, it feels like betrayal intruding into my most intimate space. And that is something no apology, no tears, no desperate plea can erase. I never thought I'd be here, weighing the pieces of my marriage, against the pieces of myself. On paper, everything looks whole: a family, a home, stability. We've built years of memories together, shared inside jokes, and dreamed of futures that now feel like they're slipping through my hands. I look at our 4-year-old's laughter, the way they run to him with excitement, and I see the version of him I fell in love with: the father, the partner, the man who once made me feel safe. But there's a shadow that hangs over all of that: the fear that this cycle will never end, that no matter how many times he apologizes, he will find another excuse, another loophole, another lie. I am terrified that this won't just be my pain, but eventually my children's reality. I don't want to raise them in a home where betrayal is swept under the rug and dishonesty is normalized. Every choice feels impossible. To stay means risking myself, my dignity, and my peace. To leave means breaking apart the life we've worked for, forcing my children to grow up with parents who couldn't make it work. Neither path feels whole, and yet, I can't avoid the truth either way. Something will break. Some people might tell me I'm overreacting. It's just a strip club. They'd say it's harmless. All guys do it, but those people don't see the whole picture. It's not about the place, it's about the betrayal. It's about the fact that he stood in front of me, swore up and down he was telling me the truth, and chose lies instead. The strip club is only the setting. The real wound is what it represents: a pattern of disrespect, of putting my feelings second, of minimizing my worth as a wife and a woman. Every time he lied, he made a decision not just to hide what he did, but to deny me the right to know, the right to choose what I could tolerate. He stole my voice in my own marriage. That's what people don't understand. It's not about the dance, the drinks, or the neon lights. It's about the choice to deceive. The repeated message that my boundaries don't matter, and the crushing realization that no amount of love can rewrite someone else's choices. I lie awake at night wondering what the future will look like. 34 weeks pregnant, my belly heavy, my body exhausted. I should be dreaming about baby clothes, lullabies, and the joy of seeing our children together. Instead, my mind is filled with questions that have no easy answers. Do I keep fighting for us? Do I put my energy into saving something that he keeps breaking? Or do I finally accept that my love isn't enough to fix someone who refuses to change? The weight of motherhood presses harder in these moments. I think about my 4-year-old, how much they watch, absorb, and mimic. What will they learn from seeing me accept this? Will they grow up thinking it's normal to be lied to, normal to be disrespected, normal to stay silent while being hurt? And then there's the baby, almost here, a clean slate, a new chapter. But how can I welcome this child into a family where the foundation already feels cracked? Will they grow up in a house divided by silence, by resentment, by pain that never fully heals? These questions haunt me more than the betrayal itself, because betrayal is one wound, but raising children in a broken environment can create scars that last a lifetime. And so here I am standing at a crossroads with no clear map, no guiding signs, and no comforting certainty about where either path might lead. On one side, there's the life I've already built, the years of shared memories, the home we worked so hard for, and the family that has become my entire world. On the other side, there is the terrifying unknown: walking away, stepping into life as a single mother, and rebuilding from scratch with nothing but my own strength and the love I carry for my children. Both paths are heavy. Both feel like loss. If I stay, I risk living in a cycle of pain, repeating the same betrayals, swallowing the same lies, and slowly erasing pieces of myself until I no longer recognize the woman in the mirror. If I leave, I risk breaking apart the family I wanted so badly to protect, forcing my children to grow up into homes instead of one, and facing the loneliness of starting over while still healing wounds that are far from closed. The question that keeps circling in my mind late at night, when the house is silent and the weight of my thoughts is louder than anything else, is this: do I believe him anymore? Not just his words, because words can be rehearsed, polished, and repeated like a script, but his heart. Do I believe that he truly sees me, values me, and wants to change? Or do I believe, deep down, that this is who he really is? A man who will always bend the truth, always chase what he shouldn't, always gamble with my trust as though it costs him nothing. The cruelest part is that I think I already know the answer. It lingers in the pit of my stomach, in the way my chest tightens whenever he says, I love you. As if those words are both a promise and a lie. I already know. But knowing something in your heart and saying it out loud, claiming it as truth and acting on it are two very different things. And maybe the hardest part of all is finding the courage to stop waiting for him to choose me and instead finally choose myself.